today? Good. I'm trying to work out like the optimal place to stand because I know we have this amazing friend just in front of us. So I'm going to try and shift a little bit around, but I will not be offended if you need to stand up and move to another side of the room because you can't see. So all good. Let's start just with a little thermometer. Like, how are we feeling? Like, all feelings are okay, you know? Mostly victims. Fantastic. So, first of all, I'm going to welcome you to the little experiment. So, this talk, I've never done before, and I'm thinking that I'm going to be using you quite a bit. So it's going to be quite interactive, and I hope that you will have fun with me in doing that. You will have found a piece of paper on your seat and a pen. Should you not have a paper or a pen, and please use that specific paper for this, and there are some more down here. But you will need this paper and a pen. Okay, as I'm going to be asking you to do things, I'm going to teach you a little tool called the hands up tool. Hands up, those who know the hands up tool. Okay, so the hands up tool basically means if you are like now, milling, talking, because I'm going to be asking you to do stuff throughout this talk. When I want you to stop, I'm just going to put my hand up. And all I want you to do is also to put your hand up and become completely quiet. Got it? So I will be testing you on this, but it's a very effective way to quiet down a room very quickly. On your piece of paper, please draw a grid and write "Dare to Flourish." I'm going to be asking you to draw your own slides. I'm going to be including some prompts on the projector, but what I'd like you to do throughout my talk and throughout the interactions that we have is to doodle, write anything that comes to mind under each sort of topic area. So what I'm asking you to do is to take my insights and my stories and reframe them as your own. So hopefully you'll be leaving here today with some ideas, some thoughts, some inspiration in how to facilitate a vibrant life. How does that sound? Awesome. Okay, let's start. First of all, when I got the brief, I thought, what is vibrant? What does that mean to you? And this is the type of question that if something comes up in your head, feel free to doodle it down. I won't be offended if everyone's sitting like this throughout the talk. That's fine. So I thought about this a lot, and there's a reason why I chose the word flourish. I'm going to be speaking through some of my absolute favorite things and how they connect to my life in the hope that maybe they can connect to yours as well. So flourishing is a concept that the godfather of positive psychology, Dr. Martin Seligman, created. And there's a book called Flourish, and he basically wanted to see if he could measure well-being and how we as humans flourish. And positive psychology is slightly different to regular psychology, which looks at, what is going wrong and how do we fix it and how do we get to sort of a status quo, like how do we bring people up to the average of happiness. Martin looks at positive psychology, which is basically how do we take what we have and really flourish? Like how do we empower all those things to make us go beyond in happiness and well-being? And for me, I've been a world citizen I'm nearly 42, and 32 of those years I lived abroad. I got the chance to live in cities like Istanbul and Rome and just outside Boston, so that was quite smaller. And I got the chance to meet all these different cultures and these different people and really lived sort of the most colorful life that you could imagine. And this was an opportunity that my parents provided for me because, they really trusted me as a young 14-year-old going out in Vienna to bars and really sort of helped me through that period of time. But back to Flourish. Dr. Martin Seligman, he derived a theory of well-being, which has the acronym of PERMA. Has anyone heard about PERMA? Oh, you're in for a treat. Some, but most no. PERMA, P-E-R-M-A, is an acronym for the components that you need in your life to feel happy and have a sense of well-being. Now, I'm not going to go through them all in detail. That could be a whole different talk, but essentially, it's about combining having positive emotions, so the things that make us happy and the things that we feel good about. It's having engagement, engagement as in the things that you're doing that makes time stand still. Like what the things that you're doing when you're in state of flow. Relationships is just as important, having meaningful relationships and the people that you work with, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The M stands for meaning, and I think that's something that we can all agree. Meaningful work, meaningful, everything meaningful and purposeful. And the final one is achievement, and that's looking at recognition, looking at our competences and what we are proud of and what we can achieve. And what he's saying is that there is no one is bigger than the other. It's a combination of these three. So I suggest that if you would look at this PERMA model to think, okay, I got really good relationships. I have a very meaningful job that really fulfills me, but I'm still having all these negative thoughts. So maybe I should work on learned optimism and positive emotion. Maybe there's something in that could inspire me to make me feel better. So what I would like you to do on your little note is actually any thought that you have around that, but also what does vibrant mean to you? And I'll give you just 30 seconds to get something down. And remember, these slides are for you. I may ask some to share. But it'll be good just to okay, flourishing. Am I flourishing in my life? What does vibrancy mean to me? Great. I just now decided that this is my wonder ball. My lovely sky-colored basketball that likes to take little wonder walks amongst participants. And this is also where I would be using lots of music, but we'll just work without. So what I would like to do is for you to have a hug and a feel. Pass it around the room for a few seconds. And when I say stop, I would very much like that person to share what vibrant means to them. So if you really want to share, just keep hugging it. And stop. What does vibrant mean to you? And I use the... Of course. Okay, so I didn't get all those words. I kind of stuck on traumatic. Buzzy. And yes, it can be too much. Yes, yeah. Thank you very much for sharing. You can keep hold of the ball. It's going to go for a little wonder later on. And I was planning to have it thrown around, but I know that you're drinking coffee, so Jenny... Enough. Okay. For the next quadrant, so you can move over to the next quadrant and right there to play at the top. In terms of flourishing and living a vibrant life, I am an individual somewhat obsessed with play. And I'm hearing music. Is that from in here or is that from out there? Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm just like, oh, the speakers are working. No, it's different. Where was I? Yeah, so play is so deep down rooted in our brain that it actually is a key motivational driver for us. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about motivation later on, but it really is integral. And if you're curious about your own play personality, there's actually a quiz online. I can send it to you. So researchers have sort of distilled down to 7 play personalities. And apparently I'm an explorer, which I kind of agree with. So you can have a look at that. But play to me, so I work as a learning experience designer and with learning and development. And I work for a company called Abracademy, which is a L&D consultancy that basically works with magic. And my official title is Luminaire of Learning. And in terms of play, Head of Learning, Luminaire of Learning. In terms of play, just having that fun title creates something different within our culture. So we have director of spells, we have a head magician because we work with real magic, but we also have project sorcerer, and just the process of us being allowed to choose those titles instills this sense of play. But to me, it goes beyond that. So I've worked with play in terms of introducing strangers to one another by them interviewing each other in a ball pit, one of these like ball swimming pool things. I have done various activities using marshmallows and spaghetti and Lego and all the types of things that really makes learning stick, because that's what I do. Learning stick and learning being memorable. And working as a learning experience designer, I can do this by creating transformative moments. And there's a fantastic book called The Power of Moments, which I really suggest that everybody reads, by the Heath brothers. Two brothers written this book, and they talk about how to create a transformative moment. What is it that makes us remember what we remember, and what is it that really defines these moments? And what I really like about that is the fact that they don't look at just all the huge things. They look at the small things. They look at, okay, well, if you know that you have Sunday anxiety and Sunday's coming up, why not design that day a bit differently? Why not try and make each moment as transformative as possible? And they talk about things like elevation, like breaking the script, doing something completely different than what the expectation says. They talk about instilling pride, feeling proud in that moment is transformative, and amongst other things. And I really suggest that you have a look at that.
What's the name of the book again?
The Power of Moments. Yeah. Cool. Let's do a little more Wonder Ball basketball game. Because I would really like to know, how do you incorporate play into your work and or life? Is it through transforming mundane meetings? Is it with your kids? How do you play with your children? How do you incorporate play into your life? And stop. But nowadays, I would say I mostly play with my kids. Okay. But I try to follow them. Mm-hmm. I try not to play. I don't want to be the leader of their games. Okay. I let them say, and I just follow along and play together. Amazing. Yeah, I love it. And it makes me really, really happy. And it really helps me also to just be disconnected from all the others things and be more present. Yeah. And for me, that's key for me as well. I try to, in work life, I try to move around, not to be so stuck into where I'm sitting or in the office or all, but really find other places to. So sometimes I just go down by the water and out. Yeah, fantastic. So for the sake of the recording, yes. I'm just going to repeat some of the things that you said. So playing with children, following their own sort of games. I can only assume they're quite imaginative. Yes, they are. Yeah. And then at work, looking at your environment and going to different places to try and sort of mix it up and it becoming more joyful. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I heard. So what's amazing, with children, play is how you learn, right? It is how you learn, period. So why do we stop playing? And that's why I think it's so crucial to include play in your work. Okay, number 3. Dare to live. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel this sort of extraordinary courage when I'm in love. Like, I could do some really silly stuff when I'm in love. Like, go on a date with a stranger. Just that is quite scary for a lot of people. But it's part of the process. Moving in with my now husband after I think it was just a few months, that's quite brave. And what I love about love is the fact that, for me, it is the biggest motivator in my life. Because not only do I have the privilege to love what I do, but I also love the process of it. And that is the definition of intrinsic motivation. It's enjoying the experience of doing something for the sake of experiencing doing it. And looking at some research like self-determination theory, again, there are loads of frameworks that, for me, they've kind of like, oh, this, puts my life in sort of a sense-making place, because now I know what I could focus on if I feel unmotivated. And self-determination theory just looks at 3 different elements. Autonomy, like, am I in control of my own actions? Am I following my choices? It's looking at relatedness, so a sense of belonging. Do I feel related and relatable within my peers? And competence, do I feel like I know what I'm doing? Am I there? Am I feeling confident? And these 3, both for you, but also for if you have a team and you're an employer, it's like, okay, my team's not feeling particularly motivated. Well, have a little look at self-determination theory. Maybe there's some things in there that you can look at helping them to achieve. So how can I help other people feel autonomy, and how can I help them grow their competence, for example? And one really clear example of this was during the pandemic. A lot of people, most of us, started working from home. And there's this big, I don't know how big part of the workforce used to being in an office every single day. Suddenly you're at home. You get to decide whenever you go to the loo. You get to decide if you're going to take a break and do your laundry. You get to decide, do you know what? Fudge this, I'm going for a walk with my dog. You're experiencing autonomy for the very first time as part of your working life. So then when you're forced to come back to work and that autonomy hasn't been addressed, of course you're not going to feel motivated. It's like, why should I be here? I'm back in the, okay, I've experienced this freedom, but it's being stripped away from me. So self-determination theory. So this will be the final Wonder Ball game. So let's pass it through the audience. And again, I would very much like to share, for the person who I say stop, will share what you absolutely love about your life and work. You're so delicate. It's so nice. It won't hurt anyone.
I wrote purpose. Feeling like I have purpose is something that I love. Getting over hurdles and autonomy, like we said.
Hey, fantastic. And how, if you think of those things that you love, what part of those things would you like to empower even more?
I would say having a sense of purpose, or really giving some thought into what am I spending a big chunk of my days doing, has really helped me kind of feel a bit more satisfied and happy about life and work in general. I'm feeling like I can get over hurdles. So even when things are tough, you have some belief in yourself. So I can get over this. I can learn. I can figure out things. It makes you feel a bit more empowered.
Good for you. I can take the ball back. You can throw it. Oh, excellent. There's a Swedish gentleman by the name of Stefan Falk. He's, pardon me, ex-McKinsey. He's got a very, very long history working with intrinsic motivation, and he's actually got a book on intrinsic motivation. And he takes up a really good point, and that is Just the same as a hare has long ears for thermal regulation, it's a survival strategy. Intrinsic motivation is one of our biggest survival strategies. Why? Because it makes us learn and grow. By being motivated in everything that you do and growing and learning puts us apart from all other species. That's what makes us human. So intrinsic motivation is, to me, one of the most important facets of being able to flourish. Okay, final one. Dare to connect. So connection for me in this context is sort of a summary of the relatedness and belonging in PERMA, the connectedness that we feel with people when we're in a state of flow, when we're collaborating and we're working really well. But it also means connecting with oneself and connecting with, for example, positive emotion. Dr. Martin Seligman has this really nice activity which is called What Went Well and Why. And he basically suggests that if it's after an event or an experience or a day or a week, if you jot down what went well and why, this helps rewire your brain for positive emotion. And another thing also to think about in terms of connection is, and this comes up also in the Power of Moments, is something called the peak end rule. I don't know if you've heard of the peak end rule, but the peak end rule basically states that if an experience, say a holiday, say 75% of the holiday is just you shouting at your kids, fighting with your husband, everything is shite, but that one day you experience the wonder of the most beautiful waterfall you've ever seen. Because of that peak, you will remember that holiday as amazing. You forget the other bits. So designing moments, connecting with people, looking at how can we make this a peak moment, how can we make, whether it's you working on a project or you are taking your kids to a cafe, whatever it is, the peak, and then it's the end that they remember the most. I put a question up there for you to doodle. I'm not going to ask you this question, but the reason I put this question is, we talk a lot about networking and meeting new people. I've done that my entire life. I've been meeting new people. But it's really what you do with those connections, right? It's how we nurture the relationships that we have. There's no point to have hundreds and hundreds and like thousands of friends if they're not meaningful relationships in terms of your own well-being and you flourishing. So as a final little activity, what I would like you to do, how's time? You would good. You are going to have 1 minute each. You will need to find a partner. So in twos. I will let you do this in a moment. In twos, what I want you to do is for 1 minute each, just quickly present something from your sheet of paper. It could be one thing, it could be one thought, it could be the whole thing. It's up to you. At the same time, your friend is going to draw a portrait of you on the back of their card. Okay? So I'll give you a few seconds to make sure that you have a friend. Fantastic. What a whirlwind. If you do not know the person that you've been sitting next to, don't forget to ask them to write down their name and details, because you will be going home with their portrait. It's your photo. I think just to summarize, thank you for taking part of this experiment. If you have all the tools and if you have the mindset, you can really design the life that you want to live. And I would say with humble brag, case in point, I really do love my life, and I really do love what I do, and I find meaning in that. And I'm now a mom, and that's just a whole nother learning journey. So I hope that you have at least something to take away with you to work on and to empower you to facilitate a life full of that vibrancy that you appreciate. Yeah. One last thing, for those of you who want to, after this talk, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to bring a photographer with me. And if anyone wants to come and do a group photo with the portraits, I would very much like you to join me to do that. Is that okay? Oh, awesome. Thank you very, very much.